Alright, here's a little sneak peek of the car after it's all finished. Just wanted to shout out the 100th subscriber, which is Sherry Lynn. Thanks for subscribing, appreciate it. Hopefully the install video is not too long, and I try to edit a lot out, but it took me over the course of maybe a week to get everything finished, so bear with me with the filming, and hopefully everything is easy to follow. Yeah, hopefully you enjoy it, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below like always. And yeah, thanks for watching. Enjoy. Alright, so today I'm going to put on the coilovers. It's pretty crappy outside. I was going to finish up with a little bit of body work I was doing on the car, but it's been raining. It's supposed to rain tomorrow too, so I figured I'd take these 2 days and do the coilovers. I bond out over, there's a bunch of dents over everything, so I bond out over the dents. And then I went over into the metal in a couple spots, so I just put like a gray primer rust paint over it here as well. And then for the rear emblem, there's like a big divot once you take the emblem off, so that was ugly, so I decided I was going to bondo that and fill that. I don't know. Hopefully I can turn this back to actual good factory paint. I hate doing body work. I never do it right, and it just turns to crap. But and then once I got rust, it's hard for me to get rid of it. But yeah, I'll do the coilovers today while it's raining. I put the hood pins on. It looks pretty cool. Put a catch can in. Looks kind of crappy, but I don't know, this is the only way I can do it, but the tubes were super thick, and just the way how the PCV comes up, it comes out of a grommet, not like a plastic piece like a lot of cars. So I kind of had to create something there, but yeah, that's on. I bought a piece of aluminum pipe for this like accordion style intake pipe, so I'm gonna put that on there. I gotta pick up a new coupler. This one was for the intake that I ordered, but I gotta order another one for there. I'm probably gonna order another one of those, but like 15 bucks. Kind of sucks, but I'll order that. And then what I'm gonna do for the paint is I'm gonna use this metallic metal cast anodized surface color system. I think that would look awesome. So that for the intake, I think that would look pretty cool. I'll go with like the silver and blue. I put the grill on. I put the notch filler on. The way the notch filler was, there was like a bit of a gap. So what I decided to do was, while I was bondoing the back and a bunch of other spots, I decided I was going to fill it. It looks pretty good. I mean, once I get this painted or sticker bound or whatever I want to do with it, it'll look even better. But yeah, that looks awesome. Yeah, I'm going to jack up the car, put on jack stands, pull off the wheels. I'm going to do maybe the right side by myself. Yeah, I'll do the right side first, and then maybe I'll kind of film myself doing the left side. But yeah, jack up the car, pull the wheels off, and then I'll get back to you. Alright, so wheels are off. I got penetrating fluid on the parts that I'm going to have to take off. Like that pinch bolt right there, pinch bolt nut. I think I'm gonna have to maybe undo this sway bar link, I think. back. How disgusting this looks. Everything is just rusted. I got penetrating fluid up there on those bolts. Depending on what the threads look like, I might have to replace them. This salt and brine on the roads here in the winter is just brutal. And I'm pretty sure this car's been driven through winters. I won't be driving in the winter, just in the summertime. So hopefully I can clean up a lot of the stuff while I'm in here. I plan on putting it on a lift and cleaning up the subframe because it's pretty rusted. It's still like strong metal, but it's just really rusted. So when I do that, I might come here and sand all that down and then paint it. But this is what I'm working with now. Like I said, with the threads, I'm gonna see what they look like. I don't really want to reuse these, but I don't know. I might. And then that is gonna have to be removed, that bolt, for this shock. And then same with this side. And so the videos that I watched, this is how so if you use parts off of your old struts, then you're gonna have to compress your spring, pull off your top hat and your bearing. I bought new. There is a torque spec for these, but I don't have the right socket to get an Allen on top of there. And the video that I watched, it was like for the Raceline coilovers. All they said was just tighten it down to the strut. So I was doing it, and then it was starting to spin, so I went lightly because I don't want to put too much stress by spinning the inside the cylinder, or whatever you call it. So I went fairly lightly. Like I said, I couldn't torque it, so this is what I'm working with. I think I'm going to have to reuse the nut that goes here on the stock strut, because the correct order is the bearing, the nut, the correct bearing is, the correct order is the bearing, the top hat, and then the nut. But for some reason this isn't supposed to come off after it's tightened down, so the I think it's because there's no lip, or whatever you want to call it, on this nut, but on the stock suspension there is a nut, like a flare nut. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a flare nut on the stock suspension, and then that will hold down the top hat properly onto it. So I might have to reuse that bolt once I take the stock struts out. We'll see what it looks like after that. If it is actually a flare nut, or maybe this just stays freely, but I don't think it's supposed to. But yeah, I'll start working on the right side, the passenger side, and then it's easy enough, and maybe I'll record a lot of what I'm doing on the driver's side. So yeah, alright, catch you later. Alright, so a little update. This is taking way longer than I thought. Just kept running into issues after issues, and so for the axle is gonna have to be shifted in some way or another. Videos that I was watching, he undid the CV Allen bolts by the gearbox, and then that gave the axle enough slack to lift up because it's hitting on the, I guess that's the A-frame down there. But what I did was I undid the axle nut there, and it gave it slack, but it still wasn't enough. If you already have coilovers, it's going to be a lot easier to install new ones. But I'm going from stock OE or aftermarket OE suspension. It's a lot longer than a coilover, so I was just running it into problem after problem. So even by undoing that axle nut, I wasn't able to lower it far enough because it was still, the axle was still hitting on the A-frame. So I ended up having to cut the spring for the stock suspension. That was the only way that I can get it out. Like, it's way too big and long. That's what she said. But oh, come on. That's a big spring compared to the new one, and it's a lot shorter too. So just, yeah, it had to be cut. I didn't know what else to do, and I'm sure if I went underneath and also undid the CV bolts for the gearboxes, but I didn't have an M8 triple square, so I wasn't able to do that. I had to borrow the axle nut, which is a 30mm 12 point. But yeah, if you do have OE suspension and you want to keep your stock suspension, then you're gonna have to undo the Allen bolts and disconnect the CV flange. But yeah, I mean, like, it's in there now, everything's good. I also don't have a, I would really like to torque things to the specification, but I don't have, you need like 3 separate strut sockets. It's like a regular socket, but there's an opening in it that you can put your Allen wrench in to hold the cylinder shaft or whatever you want to call it, and then you can torque it to spec. But on the videos that I watched, he just said tighten it down to the strut. So like, this isn't going anywhere. Everything that's being held into place, like, it's not gonna, I don't think it's gonna back off anyways, even though like it's tightened down to the strut to where the cylinder spins a little bit. But yeah, with everything being held into place, even though it's not torqued down, it shouldn't go anywhere. I'd really like to torque it down, but not much I can do about that. And but yeah, if you do have the opportunity or you can borrow it, I'd definitely recommend torquing it down. Another thing, so the way this, since it's lower than factory height, the axle is, when it's under load, it's going to be hitting the sway bar. So I'm going to have to cut that. I would like to remove it, but in order to remove the sway bar, you have to drop the subframe, which I'm not going to be doing because that's just a waste of time for me. I'm not going to really be driving this thing hard. I just want it to be lowered, so I'm not really going to notice the sway bar gone. But if you do want to take it to the track and stuff like that, then there's different sway bars you can buy. Like, one that goes under the axle, so while it's under load it's not hitting that area there. So yeah, I'm just gonna cut it right about there, and then that should be good. For the other side, I don't even think I'm gonna remove the axle nut. I'm just going to drop this normally, and then I think I'm just gonna cut the spring again, because there's, I mean, with one of these struts gone, there's no point in trying to save the other one. I'm just gonna throw it all away. But yeah, so that's that. I'll continue this side. I'll continue this on the other side. And then for the rears, everything was rusted here. I'll put a video of what that looked like. What I did was I used a wire wheel, cleaned off as much rust as I could, and then I cleaned it off, and then I put a rust reformer to convert rust to paintable surface. And then I used a black rust paint, and then I put bed liner on it. Yeah, it was pretty bad. I'm gonna have to hold off on doing the rear suspension until I get new mounts. My mount was completely seized to the strut. I tried everything to get it off, so I ended up having to cut. I had to cut it, and then I put it in a vise and then punched out this piece here. That was the only way I can get it. I hit it with a hammer so many times. I spent so much time trying to get that top hat off, or that top mount, and I couldn't get it off. I was thinking about reusing it, but I'm in here now. I'm just gonna, I ordered new ones that come here Thursday, 2 days. I don't want to wait, but I prefer to do it right, so I'm waiting on those. Yeah, a lot of things were seized and nothing was going right. But I guess for most people, this is probably going to be the reality. A lot of the videos of like the Raceland and ECS tuning, they were doing their tutorials. I mean, it's good to know, have a general idea, but in their videos, the vehicles they were working on had nothing, had like not a speck of rust on them. Everything was pretty much new, but this is going to be the reality if you want to put on coilovers. And I'm working alone too, so it's taking a lot longer. But yeah, I'm gonna work on the front driver's side now. There's not much I can do in the back until the top mounts come, but yeah, try to film along the way, but if not, then I'll give you another update. Alright, so I'm gonna try and film me doing the driver's side front coilover. So everything that needs to get done here. So the sway bar, the bottom there, that bolt here, which is a 18, I believe. No, maybe a 17. This pinch bolt here, which is an 18. That's very rusted. That needs to get removed. I don't think I'm gonna have to give slack on the axle on this side, because I don't think the frame is gonna be touching the axle. So hopefully I can do this without cutting the spring, which I'd be happy with, but if I don't, then I'll just cut it. What else? Tie rods, don't have to do those, I'm pretty sure. But while you're in here, it's good to inspect everything. Check for wear, play, and anything. But yeah, here's my high dollar filming system. Yeah, it's pretty mint, not gonna lie. But I'm hoping I can do this without this thing shaking too much for the camera. But yeah, let's get to it. All torque specs that I can find, I'll put in the description, as well as say them along the way while I'm checking on them, but I'll put them in the description. Yeah, I think for most vehicles, if this is the first time that you're doing coilovers on an older car, this is what you could expect. Hit everything with penetrating fluid WD-40 beforehand, like this strut tower in this knuckle part. Spray that down, spray the pinch bolt, the sway bar end link. Yeah, anything that you're gonna have to be removing, the axle nut, like on the other side. And you're gonna want to get yourself one of these. It's a strut spreader for European cars. This will go in the back of, sorry if I can get this here, in there, in one of these cracks here. Once this pinch bolt is removed, it'll go in there with a 1/2-inch ratchet, and then you'll turn it and it'll spread the strut housing thing, whatever you want to call it. Alright, let's get to it. Probably do this without my loud compressor. Hopefully it's not, just so it's quieter, but normally I'd be using my air compressor with my air gun. So when these struts were replaced, I'm pretty sure they reused this pinch bolt, because on the other side it was bad. So I got the strut spreader, spreading this out a tiny bit. Now I gotta get that pinch bolt out. There's rust coming off that. Okay, I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use this punch. Majority of those threads are just covered in rust now. There's no threads even left. sway bar and link is a 16. I'm going to readjust this strut spreader tool closer to the top. There we go. Alright, I'm going to support this A-beam on the bottom. I don't want to put too much stress on those brake lines if there's any. Alright. So now that nut's gonna have to come off for the top hat. I believe it's a it's a 21 millimeter. I'm gonna be reusing these just because they're a bit better quality than the ones that came with my kit. This silver top hat's going to always be reused. Now, and that's going to be reused in there too. That nut. So I should be able to just lower it out. Yeah, the axle isn't caught up on anything, which is good. There we go. All right, now I don't know how much compression is on this spring with no weight on it. So put it in between my feet and I gotta zip off that. I'm gonna point it away. Alright, sorry, the pressure's wrong, I didn't want to talk over it. So yeah, that, do that slowly, because there is some compression on it without any weight on it. Point it away from you, make sure nothing is nearby. A couple things hit the bumper, but that's no big deal. So this is the, alright, that's the spring. The old bearing. So I think it went that and the bearing, and then the top hat, I think, something like that. Yeah, that's how it went. Where's the nuts? Anyways, I'll find that later. It was similar to the nut that we took off Yeah, on the under the hood side. So that's what it'll look like. I don't know when these were replaced, when this shock was replaced, but the bearing. Should always replace your bearings. And it'll be a good idea to replace bushings. If you're going in there anyways, you're gonna want to replace it with new stuff. I know it can get expensive, but it's kind of more or less peace of mind. I'm curious about this bearing. I think these bearings are shot too. The other one was, it just fell apart right when I took it out. So I'm going to toss those out. Alright, yeah, I'll take you over and we'll put the new bearing top hat and nuts onto the new coilover. Alright, so I cleaned the silver cap for the very top, and this, clean that as well. I'm going to be reusing that. So the coilover, I got it in a vise. It'll go new bearing on top of that cap, and then it will go new rubberized bushing. Cap. In that order. And then it will go. I'm going to use the stock nut. Now, this should be torqued to 18 foot-pounds. Or no, sorry, 44 foot-pounds. But I don't have a strut socket where I can fit an Allen key in there so I can torque it properly. And the videos that I watched, all they said was tighten it down to the strut, so I guess that's what I'm gonna have to do. So I did it on the other side. There's nothing else I can do. I don't have the proper socket for it, so I'm gonna be very gentle with this. I guess that's maxed. That's all I can do for now. So before I put this in, there's a couple things we gotta do. Over here. Now, so that's where that strut spreader goes, right in there, and it opens it up. I'm gonna use some brake cleaner and clean out where it'll go, and then I'm gonna put anti-seize in there. I'm gonna use silver anti-seize. Normally I would clean and all the rust and paint, or not paint, all the rust and paint it like I did in the rear, but this A-frame, or whatever you want to call it, is not that bad, so I'm not even going to worry about any of that. Cleaned up in there. Now, some anti-seize. Got the coilover. We're gonna line up the rear, the pinch bolt slot up with our hole there. Alright, I got the new pinch bolt. This is going to 44 foot-pounds, and then a quarter turn, 90 degrees. So much little tweaking. What I'm going to do is make sure the top is lined up before I go to tighten the pinch bolt. Now, the silver top hat. I got so much more threads over there. This is why I hate not being able to torque stuff. So I got that tightened up as much as I could without torquing it. Now I left some slack on the A-frame there. Now I'm going to torque the pinch bolt. Jack it up a little bit so it's under load, and then I'm going to turn it its additional quarter turn, 90 degrees. Alright, that's in. It's a lot simpler when you don't have to disconnect the axle. Yeah. There she is. I'm also going to, just before I forget, oh, I also put the spring and the perch in there, in the rear. Looks good. I'm gonna put some graphite lubricant on the threads because it repels dirt, sand, and all that junk, just so it's easier to raise and lower it in the future. Good. Yeah, there she is. Rears are simpler, but I'll do the rear when I get my top mount. Alright, so I'll catch you then. Alright, so my top mounts came in. I put in this one. I painted it first, just so it might last a little longer. I have everything put in on the right side. Now I'm gonna wait to torque this down. It's 44 foot-pounds, but I'm going to wait until the tire's on and there's load on it, because there's a rubber bushing in there. And when you tighten up bolts on to bushings, then you have to, it has to be on ride height or else the bushing will bind. So right, that's done. I'm waiting to put on the wheel to torque that down. Now I'm starting on the left side, but I'm having an issue. I can't get this bolt off, this nut right there. It's been soaking in penetrating fluid and I can't get it the rest of the way off. I've been using the nut rounded, and I've been using a bite socket. One of these. It bites into a rounded nut, so it's easier to get off. Come on, focus. So I've been using that, but it's not working, so I'm gonna have to use the grinder and just cut it off. There's nothing else I can do. So once I do that, I'll get back to you. Alright, so I cut that off. Alright, so now that is free. Theoretically, the rear is way easier than the front. All it is pretty much 3 bolts. Undo that rear shock mount, or the rear shock bolt thing, and then 2 bolts up there for the mount, which are 17s. And then once that's out, push the whatever it's called, the rear suspension part down, pull the spring out. It's a lot easier to do with more than one person, but that's all I can do. So yeah, I'll get all that out. I'll undo these. The rear, this dust cover needs to be put onto the new one. So once I get all that out, and I'm gonna have to push down on this with my foot and then kick the spring out like I did for the other side. But once I get to all that, I'll get back to you. I'm probably gonna Probably take a wire wheel to some of this, and then put a rust reformer, and then maybe paint it like I did with the other side. We'll see. I was hoping to do my alignment today, but what time is it now? It is 4:30, so that's not gonna happen. So yeah, I'll take all this out and I'll get back to you. Alright, so I pulled this strut out and it is pretty shot. I think these are the original ones too. They have almost no like return. Yeah, they barely even come up. Yeah, these things are shot. Now when I pulled off the other cap like this, it was full of salt. Let's see if this one is like that too. That is all salt. So actually I forgot I had to, on the passenger side I had to cut this because this mount was not coming off. I was able to take the bolt off, but everything, it was just seized onto it completely. Normally it just pops right off. The only thing holding it down is the nut, but when I tried taking it off on the passenger side, I had to cut it. So let's see if I'll have to cut this one. And the bump stop, I'm pretty sure it has to be trimmed. I ended up trimming it right about here on the passenger side, but yeah, alright. I'll get back to you and try and take this nut off, and then hopefully this thing is easier to come off than the other one. Alright, let's see what we got here. And it gives a little bit of vibration to kind of set in. Now I'm not reusing these, but you can if it's in good shape, which I don't know, mine isn't really. There's like I think there's a bearing in here, so would be a good idea to replace it. I bought mine on Amazon. They were like 37 bucks. I'll put a link in the description for them, but so I'm gonna have to try and get this off for the dust cover. Shit, I can't do this one. Actually, I don't even know if I'm gonna cut this one. There's a lot of, granted this is not ride height, but there's a lot of space here. I think I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave this one the way it was. Just gonna send some brake cleaner through it, clean it out a tiny bit. This rubber piece gets reused and put back up on there with the new spring. But I'm gonna clean that, and I'm gonna blow all this out, and I'll take a wire wheel to it and then paint it. We'll use a rust reformer, and then I'll paint it black and then do bed liner like I did on the other side. Alright, so when all that's done, I'll get back to you. So I got finished up with it late last night. It was getting late and dark, and I didn't really have time to film and stuff, but yeah, the rear is simple like I said before. It's just that bolt down there, which I had to cut, but it's not a big deal. And then 2 bolts up there. That spring, the stock spring comes out. Same with the stock strut, that comes out. I took a wire wheel to all that, blew it off, cleaned it, and then I used a rust reformer, and then black rust paint, and then I went over it with a bed liner. Just kind of prolong it a bit. But yeah, that's all on there now. Everything's torqued down. I honestly don't know if I had to modify this bump stop or not, but I did it anyway, so, because this is what I thought I had to do in one of the videos. That's what he did, was cut the bump stop. Yeah, once the wheels are on and it's under load, I'm going to tighten up this bottom strut bolt to 44 foot-pounds. Once it's on ride height. Another thing too is I'm gonna have to run spacers. This wheel, my tires are too thick. They're 205 50 R17, and they're rubbing against the spring. So I'm gonna have to run spacers. I measured this gap, like I put load on the tire, I jacked it up, and I measured it, and I think max with the width of my tire is 20 millimeters. So I'm gonna go with a 15. I'll put a video up or maybe a photo of the measuring tool I have when I measured it, just so you'll get more of a gauge of how far you can go out with a spacer. Yeah, I'll put that in right now. Yeah, I went with a 15, and then I went on Amazon. I'll put a link for it in the description. It came with the extended lugs too, as well as the 15 millimeter. So I'm gonna go 15 millimeter all around. Yeah, and those should be here tomorrow. So once I get those in, I'll install it, put the wheels back on, lower it, and then I'll get back to you guys.
We fight and beg and greed, and then we go and act like something. And our hearts burn with the heat of 1,000 suns. Yeah, and we cry out loud, 'cause we just want attention. Alright, and we feel alive from a fake me.
Alright, everything's finally dialed in. And she's pretty slammed.
So find a way to get lost. So find a way.
I can barely fit my middle finger in there. I'm gonna be rubbing a lot. And I removed the rear perch because it'll make you drop a lot more. Yeah, I really need an alignment though. Yeah, I removed the rear perch. It's a lot lower. I'm gonna drive it down to a parking lot right now and get a couple pictures and yeah, I gotta get an alignment. Yeah, it looks pretty neat. Alright. Catch you guys at the parking lot. Alright, there's the car all finished. I just got it back from the alignment place. It's about 3 days later since I finished the coilovers. So I'm just gonna hop in the car since it's windy. Yeah, hopefully the video was easy to follow. Everything all together took me about maybe a week. I had to order a couple parts, had to wait for them. Had to modify a couple things. Hopefully the video is easy to follow. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Here's the alignment sheet if anyone is interested. There's still a little bit of toe in the back, just because it's lowered. They can't do anything about it apparently. Yeah, those are the results of it. It drives good. It's a little bit bouncy, which honestly I don't even mind. It actually feels kind of good. Yeah, it looks awesome. It's definitely worth it. It took me a lot longer because I was alone and I had to order other parts, but if you're doing this for your car, make sure you have everything that you need the day of. It makes things a lot easier. Like I had to order front top mounts for the shock and the rear, and I had to order 15mm spacers. What else? Yeah, I think that's just the additional extras that I needed to order. Yeah, I think it turned out awesome. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments below. Alright, thanks for watching. Have a good one.
Crazy how I see you so clear. And how you make me smile. And how you make me smile. Oh yeah. And how you make me smile. Oh baby, how you make me smile. Smile more when I see you. Smile less when I miss you. No, I don't wanna be left alone.